I twisted the dial from one end to the other and got nothing but static. It's not broken, it's just hard to get a signal here. Then why did you bring it? Because sometimes we do get a signal, and your mother liked music. Bob FM was at 96.9. I turned the dial a little left of the mark for 97. Huey Lewis said something about a new drug, then faded back to static. I dropped the radio back on the blanket near Auntie Joe's bag. Maybe I'll skip the bath. You're not skipping your bath. If I skip my bath tonight, then we can stay until 7 and I still won't miss Knight Rider, I explained. Auntie Joe snuffed out her cigarette on the side of Daddy's stone, then placed it in a small tin she kept in the apron pocket of her faded pink waitress uniform. Normally she would toss the butt off into the grass somewhere, but not here, not at the cemetery, certainly not near Mama's grave. She found another, lit it up, and sucked in another puff. Okay, no bath tonight, but you're getting one for sure tomorrow. Deal? Deal. 1 more hour, then, she said. What does this here say, Jack? Can you read it? You know I can. Then what does it say? You make me read it every year. What does it say, Jack? She knocked at the side of Mama's gravestone with the hand holding the lighter. Read. I rolled my eyes. Caitlin Gargery Thatch, February 16th, 1958 to August 8, 1980, loving wife, mother, and sister. My sweet baby sister. It should also say, killed by an evil man who drank himself into the grave next door and dragged her along kicking and screaming so he wouldn't have to be alone. Daddy didn't drink. He drank plenty. Auntie Joe liked to drink. Wine, mostly. Auntie Joe assumed everyone drank. If Daddy drank, I never saw him. Mama did. Not much, though. Not like Auntie Joe. Daddy's stone only had his name, birth date, and the date of his death. Same day as Mama. If my Auntie Joe had her way, he might not have a stone at all. Luckily, it had not been up to Auntie Joe. The guys at the hardware store where Daddy worked all pitched in and paid for both, on account of Mama and Daddy not having put money aside for burials. Both stones were carved from the same slab of black granite. Mama's shone, having been polished meticulously by Auntie Joe when we arrived. Daddy's carried a layer of dust and dirt, the surface dull beneath. I'd come back later to clean it, make it shine like Mama's. I was 4 when they died, and the rounded tops of both gravestones had towered over me. Now, though, I was more than a foot taller. I stood up now and smoothed my jeans over knobby knees. Where are you going? I want to go for a walk. Auntie Joe frowned. You should stay and talk to your mother. I'm sure she would like to hear everything that happened in the past year. I rolled my eyes again and placed a hand on Mama's gravestone. Mama, I'm 8. I have no friends because most kids are dumb. Auntie Joe still won't let me eat chocolate chip cookies for breakfast, and school is boring. I'll report back in another year, maybe sooner if something changes with the cookies. Auntie Joe waved the hand with her cigarette over her head. Go. Just don't wander off too far. I gave Daddy's stone a quick look. I'd come back and talk to him. I just couldn't do it with Auntie Joe listening in. Snatching the radio off the blanket, I extended the antenna to full mast, increased the volume, and held the little box out before me as I started up the small hill toward the rest of the cemetery. Mom and Daddy were buried on the south end of the cemetery under a red maple tree. This time of year the leaves were fire engine red. The static broke for a second and I thought I heard Elton John, but then he was gone again. I reached the top of the hill and made a sharp left, careful to stay on the stone pathway and not walk over the graves on either side. I paused when I reached the mausoleums, all positioned in 2 neat rows with a stone pathway down the center. Pittsburgh had a lot of cemeteries. This particular one, All Saints Hollow, was one of the largest.